So as most of you guys who are probably Richmond fans or even just AFL fans in general probably know that Richmond really don't have the best of luck when it comes to father-sons or academy prospects. I mean, you look at the Collingwood Football Club for an example, right? And Collingwood legitimately have I feel like 10 father-sons playing for their team. You look at the Western Bulldogs, I think in their premiership team, they had 10 father-sons alone just in that team playing. And then you kind of look at the Richmond Football Club, who really don't have anyone and haven't had many for a long time. Again, I believe Joel Bowden was a father-son back in the day. Matthew Richardson was also a father-son back in the day. But since then, it has been very, very, I want to say, rare that the Tigers see a father-son. They, of course, had Patrick Naish, who, yeah, that was almost more disappointing than, well, every movie in Sony's Spider-Man universe after Venom. More disappointing than the Justice League movie, and more disappointing than basically every Marvel movie that came out after Avengers Endgame. Patrick Naish just really did not have a good career, or a career that the Richmond Football Club essentially wanted him to have. Again, after him, we of course got Maurice Rioli Jr., so there was another one on top, but again, Maurice Rioli, I think, will be about 23 or so now. He absolutely needs to lift his game because, yeah, he really hasn't done much in the yellow and black so far. Again, Patrick Naish's brother Charlie was supposed to get drafted to Richmond, but never quite did good enough to, become selected. And I think he's even playing, at one stage, I think he was playing in the Footscray VFL team, and yeah, just never quite got there. Again, in terms of the academy selections as well, I don't recall Richmond ever having any academy selected players. I think Derek Egmiller-Smith was he was a part of the academy, but I think if I remember right, he was either a category B signing for the rookie draft, or he was a supplementary signing. I can't even remember, but obviously none of it matters anyway because he didn't play any footy with the Tigers at all, and the footy he did play was, yeah, pretty disappointing. But in today's video, I have some good news because it finally looks like Richmond are going to have not only some future father-sons, which I've of course elaborated on in a future video and we'll be talking about a little bit later on, but academy selected players potentially coming through the draft in the next couple years. Now, before I do get into all that and more, there's still a decent amount of you guys who watch these videos who are not yet subscribed to the channel. So if you could do me a massive favor and leave a like on this video to let me know you enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel for all latest AFL content news. And I guess without further ado, we'll get straight into it. Again, an article that Richmond actually posted kind of talks about academy players. There's also an article that the AFL posted, which I thought was really interesting that I want to talk about today. But it actually says that the battle looms for father-son. Carlton and Richmond will both have priority access to exciting under-16s talent Cody Walker, the son of Blues star Andrew Walker. Walker qualifies as a father-son to the Blues, where his dad was a former number 2 draft pick and played 202 games with the club. But the 2026 prospect, who starred in Saturday's under-16 clash for Vic Country with 2 goals and plenty of highlights, is also in Richmond's next generation academy, given the Indigenous youngster is in the Tigers' Bendigo Pioneers zone. Again, the Tigers do actually have technically 2 zones, 2 academy things. Again, they have their, of course, Indigenous Aboriginal Academy, but I believe they also have a certain part of Bendigo zoned off. And it's mainly just certain parts of Bendigo. It's not some of the outside cities of Bendigo like Rochester or even going up to Echuca. Or else Richmond would probably have a lot more of these guns tied to them over the years, like Harley Reid. And imagine if Harley Reid was in Richmond's academy, which has produced literally no players. God, that would have actually been something really exciting to look forward to if you're a Richmond fan. But of course, it didn't end up happening. It says that the draftee, though, gets to choose which club he nominates for under AFL rules, with similar circumstances happening for other players in the past. including Maurice Rioli Jr., who was eligible to go to Richmond and Fremantle as a father-son, and also Essendon as an NGA player, but ultimately nominated as a father-son with the Tigers. Walker played as a half-forward/midfielder and booted 2 goals, showing his speed and class as a standout talent in the carnival. Again, this is for the 2026 draft, so it is looking a little bit more to the future. But the thing is, in my opinion, I think the chances of Richmond getting Cody Walker are about 10%. Again, I'm not completely ruling it out. From the research I've done, it does look like Walker is genuinely a massive Carlton fan and has posted a lot about Carlton on his stories. He's also posted pictures of him on his Instagram training with Carlton players like Sam Walsh in the gym and whatnot. But again, in saying all of that, he also had his old man play for Carlton, and if you go for Carlton and your old man play for Carlton, you're probably going to want to continue the history that has been, done at the club. The other thing is, though, the reason I give Richmond a 10% chance is because he plays for Richmond. He plays for their academy team, and the realistic thing is, if he plays for Richmond, I'm sure he has trained a fair bit at Richmond. I'm sure he is, over the next 2 years, going to meet all the Richmond players. Is going to be very well integrated, I think, into the club. And I still think there's a 10% chance, because I wouldn't be surprised if all of these younger players and the players who will probably be in his draft year really do try and convince him to go to Richmond, just based on the fact that we have so many goddamn young players. We're obviously rebuilding. We're in a much, I think, stress-free, I should say, environment than what Carlton are in right now. He'll get the proper chance to develop. I think logistically, it would make much more sense for him to nominate to Richmond, because obviously where we are right now. But in his heart and how the historical evidence proceeds with this one, I think he will definitely be nominating Carlton, which of course does suck. Again, in saying that though, we do have another player in the same team named Lewis Armstrong, who is a very interesting, or Tanner Armstrong, sorry. Tanner Armstrong is the guy. Where the hell did I get Lewis Armstrong from? Isn't that like a freaking astronaut or something? I don't know. But it says Armstrong was also noted as a valuable player, receiving Victoria Country's coach's MVP for his outstanding role as a small defender. The youngster provided a run and drive on the halfback with an average of 21 disposals and 3.3 tackles and 4.7 rebound 50s across the tournament, while also shutting down highly rated small forwards from the opposition. Again, he's a 178 centimeter defender who can actually play everywhere. I have heard of him moving up to the midfield a little bit, going on and playing some forward too. But I think his role in the AFL, and I do expect him to make the AFL with the rate that we've seen him develop, will be as a halfback that can, of course, move up the ground, but also a halfback who's going to be a lockdown defender. He's a good rebound 50 player. I just think he will be a really good asset to Richmond, hopefully, in the future. And yeah, the fact is, if he goes to Richmond, hopefully he will convince as well Cody Walker to come to Richmond as well, because again, they've been teammates for so many years. I'm assuming they'll be good mates. Cody Walker can come to Richmond with one of his good mates and a guy he's already played with, already has a connection right there. I just think that makes a lot of sense for him. Again, I'm hoping this all does happen and whatnot. There's a lot of the academy players here that I think would be good for Richmond. Again, though, I think we should talk about some of the father-sons. So without further ado, let's just get straight into that. So I'm going to be honest here. This video that I'm making right now is literally completely being made because of you guys. Again, there was a couple of you in the comments of the last couple of videos actually telling me that the Richmond Football Club have some father-sons coming through. And when I originally read these comments, I thought you guys were completely pranking me, because let's be honest here, Richmond, we don't get father-sons. In fact, for some reason, I'm pretty sure if you look at like our 10 best premiership players of course, the big 3 years that we had, I would say probably 90% of the kids they all had were, well, all girls. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. Again, if you're having a perfectly healthy kid, that's absolutely awesome. More credit to you. But of course, as Richmond fans, we're all sitting here like that one Mike Wazowski meme, wondering, well, you know, when are the lads going to start having some boys here? Is it the old Greek mythology about them? Are they not eating enough meat? I don't know what is going on here, but considering, like, in my time of watching Richmond, I think we've had like 2 father sons all up, and I think in the history of Richmond there's only been like 4 father sons all up. It's definitely like an obvious thing that Richmond fans are potentially hoping for some more, especially considering the 2016 premiership team by the Dogs had like 6 father sons in that team alone. And Collingwood, of course, have the Dacos boys now. I think the McGuan boys are coming through. They had the Brown boys. The Darcy Moore, of course, is a father-son, etc., etc. Richmond are hoping for some father-sons. And again, in today's video, we're going to be talking about all of that and more, because it looks like that could very well be coming. One of you guys actually commented here saying that Duncan Callaway's son, Joel Bowden's son, Brian Lee's son, and Nick Daffy's son. Callaway's son probably is like top 20 odd. I think the other 3, I don't know. Again, when I saw this comment, I looked more into it, and there is a little forum thing here that says that it now makes sense why we don't have a second round next year, because Callaway's boy is tipped to be a top 15 prospect, and in 2 years' time, Brian Lee's son will most likely be a top 10 pick, I should say. Things are looking very bright for the future. Again, apparently this was said by Deledio and Shifter, which again, if it's being said by Shifter, I absolutely trust it, because that man literally gets paid to watch underage boys play with a ball. Again, what a job. Who wouldn't want to do that? I reckon Michael Jackson would in fact quit singing to go and do that job if he was alive. A lot of ifs and buts in that comment I just made. But of course, yeah, this is some very exciting news, considering Richmond are starting this massive rebuild, and we know just had 8 picks in the 2024 AFL draft, which should hopefully all end up being pretty good picks, as well as in 2025 we have supposed to be 2 top 5 picks, you know, because we traded for North Melbourne's first round pick. Things are starting to look very, very bright for the future. And let's just say this Callaway's son, of course, it being, I think it's Duncan Callaway's son, not Andrew being the brother who won Richmond's Best and Fairest in 2000 and made the All-Australian in 2000 as a backman. I believe this is Duncan Callaway's son, who started before Andrew, I think. Yeah, they both played in the 90s. Again, this is really, really interesting. From what I've seen, I think this guy is a midfielder. He actually plays for Sturt in South Australia, because his father works for the Adelaide Crows, I think, as a strength and conditioning coach, or at least that's what it was said a little bit ago. Again, that could, of course, have changed by now. But if we do decide to look at Duncan Callaway's numbers here as a Tiger, he played with Richmond from 1993 to 2004, played 180 games, kicking 12 goals right there. Again, he is the father, I believe, of this Callaway, and the Callaway's name is Lewis, and he actually, as a 17-year-old, averaged 18.5 disposals per game on an okay disposal efficiency of 65%, but they are believing right now that this guy could eventually develop into being a really, really good prospect. Now, I'm not too sure if he's a midfielder or a halfback. I don't even think you can find that information really anywhere. There's not a whole lot of information going around right now. So it's more so if you've watched him play, and if any of you have, give us a little insight in the comment section down below what you guys think about him. But again, as previously said, he is tipped to be a top 15 pick in the 2025 AFL draft. And look, if he's in halfback, that is so perfect, because I think Richmond will be looking for a halfback, not only to replace Daniel Rioli in the next couple of years, who just got traded to the Gold Coast Suns, but to obviously replace Jaden Short, who went from being one of the best Richmond players to having a very bad 2024 season. And hopefully doesn't regress much more, but I really don't know how many years he's got left in him. Probably, I think he's like 29 next season, so he's probably got a good 3 to 4 years. But again, he had a really bad year, and if he plays like that again, he probably won't be playing that 3 to 4 years out. But we'll have to definitely wait and see. He's still a vice captain of the club, but we do need a half back right now. And the fact is, let's just say this Callaway goes, we'll say pick 17, right? That means if North Melbourne finish 15th like they're projected to, Richmond will have pick 1, 4, and 17. 3 first-round picks again in the 2025 AFL draft, which would mean if we're counting our first pick of the second round of this year's draft as a first, which a lot of people basically just are, that means we will have had 11 first-round picks in 2 years, which is just flat out crazy to think. And that's not even talking about how Richmond are probably going to be bad again in 2026, where we'll have pick 1 and our first pick of the second round. And then you're telling me that Brian Lee's son will most likely be a potential top 10 pick of 2026. That is flat out crazy to think. The absolute domination and draft capital that the Tigers are going to have over the next couple of years. Again, this could all change. We have to remember that we are looking a whole year to 2 in advance. And I remember as a 17 to 18 year old, a lot of things changed for me. Mainly how big my willy was. That definitely took a little bit of a jump. I'm not even going to lie. I would personally show you guys, but I think this video would not only get age restricted, but I'm pretty sure it would definitely be on the internet. Again, let me know if you guys want me to make an OnlyFans. We'll have to make that happen. But I remember not only was I changing a lot to 17 to 18 in terms of PP size, but that was like the short period of time where I had bulk pimples on my head and freaking hated the world. Again, I was one of the lucky ones who never really got pimples. I was a pretty clean eater before COVID started. I was very, very slim. I didn't put on the 30 kilos until COVID started. So I was a pretty good eater and I barely ever got pimples. But I tell you what, in that short period of time, it made me want to hate life. And where I'm trying to get at here is, again, a lot of things happen to a lot of different people. And it's very hard to predict what's going to happen in a person's life if they will continue on the trajectory that they are right now, or what is going to happen. Again, this Callaway could also very well grow. I believe he's listed at 183 centimeters. Considering his dad and uncle, I believe, are both taller than that, he could very well get to like 6'1", 6'2", and yeah, be a little bit of a different player. Again, maybe lose some speed, who knows? Again, there's a lot of ifs and buts that all goes into this. We really don't know. And for Brian Lee's son, it's hard to truly get excited considering this boy's 2 years away, and he may be a top 10 ranked right now, but in 2 years' time, he could not sneeze on the camera, but he could very well be like ranked 35 or something. Again, there are NBA players who literally are ranked like number 1, shout out like Imani Bates, and then when they get drafted, I think like he got taken at pick 52 or something to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So again, that was in the span of like 2 years. This guy went from the number 1 ranked player to the number 52 ranked player. A lot of things can change, so it's very hard to get fully excited and truly know what is going to be going on. But at the end of the day, there should be a little bit of excitement there for Richmond fans, because it looks like we're finally getting some father-sons. And at this rate, we could have 3 first-round picks for next year. And that's not even talking about trading to get back into the draft again. Look, I don't think we will. I think Richmond are very happy with the veterans and players that they have. But that's not to say that they might not, throw a future first-round pick or something around to see if they could get another first-round pick in 2025. So, a lot to talk about here. I would very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below. It would mean a lot to me to, hear how you guys think about all of this and whatnot. Again, don't forget to subscribe to this channel for all the latest sports content and news. Subscribe to my gaming channels and my IRL/vlogging channels, which will all be getting linked in the description down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.